Hi, welcome to End Times Matrix News. Today is May 14th. This is a Thursday edition of End Times Matrix, and we're doing today a show called The Boat of Ra and Cern. And this is sure to blow your mind as always. And of course, we got Kris put together a great presentation. Always impressive. She puts a lot into these shows. And Anthony Patch is here, and it's going to be a barn burner. How's that? It's going to be fun. So, hi, how is everybody today?
Hello.
Very
I'm
good. All right. So, we'll just go ahead and let Kris get started since she got plenty. Oh, boy. Oh, my gosh. Oh.
Yes, today is brought to you by Doritos and the number 3.
Sesame Street here. We are doing Sesame Street.
Hey, I actually just did that for Tim to be funny there, but today actually we're going to be very serious about the event that is going to change the world. We're going to talk about Cern and what they're trying to do with opening up the portal. And so we'll just go through this and explain all of this, and Anthony's going to help me out. And then at the end, I have some encouraging words brought from the Lord at the end here. So just bear with us and help us explain this complex presentation. It's a little complex, and this is like many years of research from Anthony, and a couple of years of research from me, and many years of research from Tim. So let's just get started with this presentation, and then just bear with us and hang in there so that way this can make some sense about what Cern is doing. And This is a show that we're doing today with the Boat of Ra. This is a show that we did before, putting some pieces together with the plow and the Ursa Major. We explained before how this spins around like the swastika. The pole star is going to be the main focus today, and Cern. So just keep this pole star in mind. We went over the Zayin letter and the 7, which is the letter that is reserved for the new world to come, that the Jews wear on their little black box on their head. This is another picture of a swastika. So the swastika is, this is the symbol of Ursa Major going around in a circle, and the 4 seasons, the equinoxes and the solstice. So this was a building in California, and this is actually a Navy SEAL building that they built in the shape of a swastika. And we also went over this before, the leg of the bull, which is the shin. It means sickle in Egyptian translated, and it means shin. And the Hindus call them the shining ones. This is a Dendar map with a leg in the center, and it actually moves throughout the constellations over time. So we're going to be focused on this Polaris star, and I'm going to explain what the star is and how this connects to all of these stars here, and how the swastika, the way it's shaped, but then when it spins open and the portal opens, it becomes a circle. It becomes a dimension, and I'll explain that to you later. This is another picture of a swastika on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. There is an Egyptian Book of the Dead as well, and this is the Vaji. These are is the cross of the. This is actually lightning, and it is actually keys. So they're lightning keys, and they tie into DNA and a string theory. And this is the Skull and Bones, 322 = 7. So if you want to catch our other show about this, I'll link it in the show, so that way you can get caught up on what we talked about with the Zayin letter and the name of Ptah and the bloodline of Cain, because this has everything to do with all of this and the Antichrist. And this is the Ogdode, this is the egg, and these are the deities. They worship the 8, and we've explained that too. It represents the pyramid. So the 8 are, they're one, but they all have different functions, and they all are worshipped by the Vatican. The spirit is Thoth, and he's the phoenix that rises, and that's what they're looking forward to. And I'll continue and which is Dionysus. He represents the moon, and his mother and father is like Jupiter and Venus, Ammon and Mut. So this is an example of the boat of Ra, and this is Cunum. He is the resurrected Saturn. Now, just keep in mind that this time frame is after the flood, and I'll show some dates and some pictures of the boat with the Milky Way and some other things that I want to show Anthony that's connected to Cern with that. But this is just kind of like a map here, and Ptah is, they cite him with creating Imhotep himself, and but Ptah is actually, Tubal Cain, and he's the bloodline of Cain. And Cunum is, he's known as the potter of the Ka. Not the basso, but I guess the Ka on the potter's wheel. And Bandajet represents the 4 souls, and he represents Ra, which is He. And He is a very important figure of the boat of 1,000,000 years. This is what these strings mean. I think this is tied to another thing that I'll show you here with the Semitawe. But this is the connection with that. And so we have the 4 deities, which 4 equals 3 each, and these equal 12. So these are the 12 deities. So the 8 is actually represents the Ankh, and they represent all of these deities and all of the constellations. And this is the magic square of the sun. And this is Ptah, and this is his name. And so we're going to be focused on this pyramid here and the moon. And this was the Zayin letter, this 7 here. But this is Ptah, and he's also Tubal Cain. This is his name. This is what his name means when you put it together, and he's a certain type of DNA. That's He. This is He. His DNA symbols are mirrors of infinity, and they're connected to the moon energy. Who is the first word in Egyptian mythology of the Ennead, and the Ennead are the 9. The Ogdode merged with the Ennead, and the 9 are the Council of 9. They're above the Committee of 300, and these are the demons that run the Vatican. Ha and He are the same as Who, actually. So when I showed you He of the boat of Ra, that's who he is. And he is the god of the Ogdode. And Who is also a Hopi god as well. So He means god or goddess, and he is the 5th letter of many Semitic alphabets, including Hebrew, Arab, Phoenician. He is often used to represent the name of God. He stands for Hashem. Some pious Jews will replace God's name Adonai with Hashem. Yhwh is He is, and is also another name for Hashem. Just keep that in mind when I go over Tahiti and Thoth's name later on. Adonai is Hebrew for my lords, from Adon, Lord owner. The singular form is Adonai, my lord, a royal deity title, and is to be carefully distinguished from the divine Adonai used for Yahweh only. This was used by Phoenicians for god Tammuz, and is the origin of the Greek name Adonis, the lover of Semiramis Isis, his mother and wife. Jews only use the singular to refer to the distinguished person. Jews use Adonai instead in prayers and would use Hashem. Adoshem, this is up until the mid-20th century, the use of this word combining with the first syllables of Adonai with the last syllable of Hashem, that was quite common then. So here's the boat of Ra, and this is the Enid when they merged with the 9. And this is the Manat necklace here. And this is Jeb standing on he's the god of the earth. This is some of the parts of Cern here. I just wanted to show you, Anthony, how they have these necklaces in here. Like, I'm sure they're called something else in Cern, but this is part of their machine, and I just wanted to show you how it looked just identical to this necklace here that they stand on in the boat of Ra to show who the god of the earth is.
They look like detectors.
Yeah.
They look like the particle detectors, Atlas and CMS and all the other ones.
Yeah. So this is Lower and Upper Egypt. This is Khufu, which is Menhotep II, and he in 2589 he had the Horus name. And before that, in 2690, because you go backwards until you get to I guess the AD, but Horus and Set name is Ham. So Ham, which is Kasakimwe, was the first one that was in the stretching of the cord ceremony. And this is Sishet. She is the one who opens the door of heaven for you. That is on a coffin text. She represents 7 spirits, and one of them is Hathor, one is Isis, and she represents this pole star here. So Juno she also represents Juno, and this star is the star that she represents, and the 7 spirits. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here, the 4th dynasty. So in the 4th dynasty, approximately around this time here, when they merged Upper and Lower Egypt, they called it the Golden Age. And there was a researcher, Egyptologist, that said that the pyramids were built around this time, that's an approximate date that these stars changed. And I know that at one point the Thuban star was the dragon star was the pole star before, but this was after the flood.
Can you hold that for just a second?
Uh-huh.
Come back, just one more. Come back. So you're saying that in the 4th dynasty was the Golden Age. No, go forward. 4th dynasty was considered the Golden Age?
Mm-hmm.
And that was between 2613 to 2494?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
And those were approximate dates from the, it could have lasted for a certain period of time when this is the time where they were able to do free trade. Like we have the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and they're going to be a worldwide trade. So that's another thing that's happening that's identical to this time, because they were able to freely trade. They were able to have all religions merged together at that point, and that's why Menhotep he was a giant too at this point. See, here he is, and here's an hieroglyph of him where he's a giant.
Now,
and here's
hang on before you go too far. You said that the constellations changed their position during that 4th dynasty?
Yes.
Okay, that's really important if we relate that to the Thunderbolts project and the alignment of Saturn, Venus, and Mars in close proximity to the Earth. That's when they referred to that alignment at that time as the Golden Age. That alignment was before the constellations and the planets themselves changed position to what we see today. So you just pinpointed the date of the golden age before everything shifted.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Outstanding work. Go ahead.
With this is this is really a big deal, and this is what's going on right now with this the alignments that they're trying to do the same thing with Cern, and I want to just kind of show as I go along how they're going to do that and what's going to happen here, because this is Menhotep, and he became the ruler, and he was a giant, and he is Khufu, you know, and they call him Cheops. So at that point, there was a constellation here called Cephas, which he represents Khufu too, when he's wearing the crown here. Yeah. And he also represents the key, which is the top of the obelisk. So he actually goes around here, like this is Cassiopeia, and he's kind of, we have Draco going through here. This is, it used to be the pole star, but the pole star is actually Juno. Juno is the female aspect of Thoth, so just keep that in mind. That was the resurrection of Saturn with Jupiter, and Osiris became resurrected with Isis and Thoth as Horus. I know that's confusing, but that's how it is.
Are you saying that Polaris is Juno?
Yeah, that's the star of Venus. Yeah, it represents the star of Venus. And now, when I show this picture above here, where imagine they're connected here like electricity. See?
Yeah.
These stars are, and so that's what's going to happen when the portal opens.
Yeah, they are connected by electricity, by the way.
Yeah. And the Earth is a magnet too, but this, like, if you can imagine the swastika like together, yep. And imagine it spinning very fast, like the speed of light, and then imagine it turning into a circle.
How did you come? I mean, we've talked about this before, that the swastika rotates.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I want people to understand in context what you're presenting here. All through history, the swastika has been worshipped, and we've seen the flip side or the inverse of the swastika presented in different cultures. But all through history, they have been seeking the opening of the portal, is what the representation of the swastika means to people. And the fact that you've pointed out that it rotates, and specifically rotates around Polaris, which is our navigation star, our primary North Star for navigation. Everything that we know in the world is based on navigation by Polaris, which is the center, the hub of the rotating swastika, which opens the portal.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. You are right on top of it, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeez. I'm going to explain a little bit further, too. So
keep going. Keep going. You've got it.
Yeah, this is a representation when they open the portal. I've talked about Upper and Lower Egypt here and combining these two kings, and here is Set and Horus. There are two different types of DNA, and the swastika represents DNA also. And so when these two come together, this is the dualism. And so Set and Heru become the Bawe. They're the two powers that become one. And this is the union symbol here. It's called Sema, and it represents the lungs. So this is the, them two combined here. This is the Semitawi. This is the mirror of Happy. This is one of the souls of Horus, and they have different functions on the Kabbalah tree. So this is part of the Kabbalah tree here. This represents the man, and this is this represents, here's the Ptah cross, but this is the knot of Isis, and so they're tying a knot here between this two DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's this picture that we went over last time, and so I went ahead and covered it here, showing that this is below, and this is above.
Mm-hmm.
This was round Saturn's eye deal.
That was what?
This was round Saturn's eye video. I just took this picture just to show. He drew with the two snakes going around the caduceus and the knot in the center. Well, this is, he drew this from the Kabbalah tree here. See, this is the top here, the bar before the crown. Yeah. And then this is the Dath is the place that they call knowledge, and it's the dark place where this is where Aleister Crowley wanted to jump in here in the Dath. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that it represents this area here on this, and so this is above and below, because here it is again below. So up here represents the Titans, and down here represents the Olympians. But this is the moon, number 9. And so when we look at Ptah's name, which is the bloodline of Cain, this is the top of the pyramid here, the moon. The moon represents the capstone, and it also has some type of energy vortex that comes down to the earth. But there's a gate here called Ptah, and it's closed. And they want to open this gate to the moon.
Okay, now like we talked about it the last time, your images here tell the whole story. This is the whole thing right here, folks. I want you to understand what she's presenting. This is a graphical representation of the process and the machine at Cern. This goes back to the Golden Age, but it shows the components in an ancient representation. It shows the components of the Large Hadron Collider and its orientation to the moon. And what it is showing you is the connection, pardon my voice, it's showing you the connection that will be established, an electrical connection between the Earth and the moon. And this is reestablishing a connection that occurred during the time of the Golden Age, and as Kris has identified, during the 4th dynasty. And this all ties into the Kabbalah tree here, representing the same thing that you're seeing in the middle image. The middle image is the whole game right there, and that's also an image that was provided to us by the Thunderbolts project, showing the alignment of the moon, and as well we have Venus and Mars and Saturn. So that's where we're headed with this. Kris, you just really, again, hit it right out of the ballpark, right here. Beautiful.
Yeah, this is happy. He's part of the Ursa Major. Him and the other 3 souls, which are the 4 above and the 4 below. They worship the 8, which is the Ogdode. And so this is happy. He represents the lungs. And he is on the canopic jar of when they have those little 4 jars when they bury the kings, and they put their body parts inside of the jar, and that has something to do with raising the Antichrist. And you're going to be blown away when I get down to the bottom.
You're already doing
this presentation. You just wait until I got to show you something about the Catholic Church. Okay, so this is what Anthony was talking about. He's talking about a giant electrical Birkeland current stretched between the Earth and Saturn, a ladder or mountain, and this was what they did in the Golden Age. And this is the currents, and this is the ladder here. But this is what they're doing here with these Birkeland currents. And see these 2? This is eternity, and these 2 represent HE, which would the god that I was showing you before, that's connected to the boat of Ra. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's his name right there. That's his bloodline, and he's the god of 1,000,000 years of eternity, or whatever that's connected to that. But I also found out that Bess is a little god that is connected to him. This is his little figure here. This figure is all over the world. Is in all indigenous people's artifacts all over the world. And on islands, in every country, in the United States, this little figure of this plasma field is everywhere.
That's Bess, B-E-S?
Yeah. He's a little troll god, and he's connected to the Yhwh, I-H-Y. And he's connected to, which he's the young Horus, which is Yhwh. He's on the potter's wheel of Kunum. Okay, so Polaris has been regarded as the most important star in the heavens. It has been known by many names in the past. The pathway, the pointer, indicating the way, the navel of the world, gate of heaven, hub of the cosmos, the highest peak of the world mountain, lodestar, the steering star, the ship star, and the stella, which is stellar, Stella Maris, star of the sea. So in past ages, whichever star held the position of the pole star was worshipped as the star of that age, and temples were built to them in ancient Egypt. Polaris is now the star of our own age. The planet Uranus was discovered 1 degree longitude away from the star. And I just wanted to point out again, my friend Heidi got me focused on this alignment here, and then I started researching it. You know, she told me about it, and then I started researching it, and had, you know, some other people that have talked about this alignment. You can look at Lou Vega's work. He's got some really great work on the alignments of this year, which Mars is the god of war. It's going to be over Egypt, the Pyramid of Giza in September. But this is when the woman gives birth. Okay, Jupiter is the Messiah of the Vatican, and Jupiter is the god that they worship, Zeus. And the Gnostics, the Satanists, that's who it is. And he's the resurrected Saturn, which Saturn was the most worshipped god, you know, before that, you know, from all of time that you can dig back to. That's who they worshipped. And then they worshipped Jupiter through Mithricism and everything like that. So this is a birthing of Jupiter through the legs of Virgo, and this is going to happen September 23rd of 2017, and only on that day. So she'll be clothed in the sun, and it'll be in the daylight hours, and the moon will be at her feet, and the constellation Leo will be at her head. So Leo contains 9 stars, but the morning of September 23rd, 2017, there will be 3 additional stars, with Mercury, Venus, and Mars combining with Leo, crowning her with the 12 stars. Jupiter, the king of the planets, will be exciting through her legs, giving birth. So in August, before that, there's another alignment that's going to cause this egg to go across, and the very center of it is going to hit the mid-Dread fault line. So I don't know if anything's going to happen then. I'm just pointing it out that these are some very interesting alignments. And just know that our calendars, everything that is connected with the months and the seasons and everything else comes from this astrology. It comes from the star maps of Egypt, the Dinara map. This is what they do. They have sundials. This is how they would figure time and everything else. So this is what they do, and they understand what's going on in the constellations, and they know what's coming. They know way more than we do what's about to come. They're not telling us, but there is something that is going to happen, and this is why they're getting ready for the same thing of the rising of the Phoenix. Here's another Polaris can generate magnetic energy pulses, and so Polaris can create force fields, and it can manipulate the Earth's magnetic field. So this is what Polaris could do. I mean, this star could move if they're able to do this. And So yeah, so if this is done, she's going to be able to move and actually probably create this torus field that we're going to go into here in a minute. That was just another picture of the old star mapped in when that happened with the birth of 4 souls of Horus. So this 4 souls represents Ursa Major. This is Ursa Minor, and this is the pole star here, and this is Anubis. Because these are gods of the dead, you know. And so in Hinduism, the right hand was clockwise swastika is a symbol of the god Vishnu.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the preserver of the universe, that's what they call him. And then while the left hand counterclockwise swastika represents Shiva and Kali and her dance of death, destruction and disaster. And the ancient images of Kali show her dancing with blood dripping from her mouth, naked only in a clad of garland of severed human heads, and rampaging killing spree as Shiva lies pine at her feet. So what could reverse this? If something reverses the direction of the Big Dipper, it could cause a pole shift and electromagnetic power, because our pole has a lot of power through our Earth. I mean, we have a magnetic pole going through our Earth, and it could connect, to this pole star and cause a fourth dimension field to open up. And I'm going to show you that picture here in a second. So the swastika represents the Big Dipper at all 4 seasons, and if the Big Dipper is part of a celestial bird, the bird and the serpent together wheel around the portal of heaven, and they're the feathered serpent, the place where the earth and the sky, male and female, join and generate the force that moves the heavens. So when you think about the negative and positive of the swastika, it also represents male and female. But when that portal and that vortex opens up to the 4th dimension, it spins around and male becomes female. Everything becomes one, negative and positive. Everything is together. And this is what King Tut represents. King Tut wears both DNAs, the bird and the snake. The Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, or not Ursa Minor, but Ursa Major, and the Big Dipper, and I guess it used to be the Thuban star, and the snake used to be the pole star, but it's not anymore. But this is what it used to represent, is the bird and the snake. And so the tribe of Dan also represents the eagle and the snake also. It's on our dollar bill too. So this is going to show this kind of vortex energy here. I'm thinking this could be like the missing capstone kind of figure with the cosmic donut here. And we're going to be talking about this hole in this donut a little bit now. And so this is kind of the energy of the earth, but this is like when the pole opens up here with the pole star here in this energy going. I don't know if you've seen the video Hellophant with iPet Goat 2. I know it's come up a little bit. Enter the Stars did a video showing that if you put iPet Goat into the in Google Maps, that it'll show you Cern. Isn't that interesting? and the Temple on the Mount.
Right.
And so this, if you look at this, is the foundation stone in the temple, and this is the hole here. This is the navel of the world, and it represents the pole star. This is also all old artifacts with the king of Lagash. He became Nintura, which represents, Zeus, and this represents the opening here too, stabilizing, opening the portal, the 4th dimension. And here's Shamash, and he's the sun god. And so this has a lot to do with the sun and the moon gods here. But this is the field, the toroidal field, like a 4th dimension here. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
Here it is again. Huh?
No, go ahead.
This is Cern, and these are some layers of it here. This is the symbol of Cern. This is Cern at the MTV Awards. I've shown this before, but I like showing it because it matches all of these. It's, you know, this is what they do with predictive programming. They worship the god they want to raise, and this is why they do this. This is a launch. I forgot the number of the launch, but this is a missile launch pad, and this is where they do it at. Off this, there's this little 7 with Mercury symbol with the upside down cross, because we've talked about the 7 here, 3227. It represents Saturn, the leg of the bull. Here's Draco and the Thuban star. This was what used to be there when it was connected to Saturn. It was connected, and Saturn ruled the planet at that point, and he represented Sobek. But
so what was connected to Saturn again?
That DNA, and they resurrected Jupiter, and so Jupiter became the ruler through Ptah, which is Tubal Cain.
You cut out. You mentioned that it was connected to Saturn, and then I lost you at this end. So back up a little bit, if you would, please.
This star was connected to Saturn.
Thuban?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
It used to be the Polaris star. And see, here's the symbol of Saturn here with the, like the Kabbalah tree, the electric energy. But this is the Saturn's symbol here, and this is the Abzu bird. The Abzu is underneath the Temple of the Mount. It's called the Abyss, and that is the Well of Souls underneath this rock inside that temple.
Okay. Tim, back up one slide, the Well of Souls. Tim, okay, you're a popular culture guy. We're talking about Indiana Jones. Do you remember in the Well of Souls? And then he places the staff with the medallion on the top of it, and the rays of the sun come through into the chamber.
Yeah.
If we were to do the same thing with this this navel, this Well of Souls, the navel of the universe, and place the staff in that, my thought here is that it probably points right to, well, now Polaris. What do you think?
Well, the way they used that staff was for a map, a sun map, a sundial kind of map, a gem getting shine through the gem and showing some map along that big open area, pointing to whatever the hidden treasure was they were looking for, or the hidden door, I think would be more appropriate. So, yeah, this stone really boggles my mind. I had thought originally that they could build the temple anywhere on the mount, like a lot of people have been talking about. But then when we considered this stone and considered the dig series that we just watched, this stone seems to be, you got to have the stone. So therefore, you got to clean that mosque off of there to get access to it. That's where I'm going now. I mean, I didn't even. That stone is the center of what they're doing. I don't know why.
If we look at that stone, excuse me, much like a sextant for navigation, then that, to me, that hole, that navel, has to point to the North Star.
That's a good point, especially if that's what it reflects, the as above, so below.
Yeah, because it points to the North Star above, but it points to the Well of Souls below it.
Yes.
And this is where it's closely located to Mount Hermon, which is where the fallen angels originally had touched down. And that's where there's a UN outpost right now, a military outpost on top of Mount Hermon. And that is, we're looking at territory that's being fought over right now. And possibly in September 23rd, if we're talking about Mars being over the Giza Pyramid, maybe a time of war, it may tie into Mount Hermon.
Well, they guaranteed that the whole premise of this dig show was to destroy the Temple Mount, destroy the Dome of the Rock, start World War III.
Right.
but it's the Well of Souls. I'm not sure of all the history on the Well of Souls. I think we have to investigate that deeper, what it's connected to, if it's one of these gateways or portals or some to the abyss or something. I mean, I know we have the Cern Apollyon connection, but this Well of Souls, I haven't investigated it enough, and I think we need to put more effort into it. I think we're going to do a Temple Mount show next week on the dome, and I think maybe we'll focus on this more, because I didn't think this was as important as it's becoming.
Go ahead, Kris. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, actually this year also the UN is calling this the year of light, and that's probably could be a possibility why. And this Cern represents the 7 fallen angels that I talked about before, the 7 and the 7 spirits of this star. And so when you look at the UN, here's this little circle here in the middle, here's the circle here, here's the moon, and it's kind of interesting how that circle represents the swastika actually too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the quantum computer, don't get scanned with that thing, because every code in the computer is coded with 666. I just wanted to point that out, because we're talking about the swastika represents 666, and the number of the man that they want to raise up, and I'm going to show you that too in a minute here. It's going to it just blew me away when I figured it out. So this is just another, if you want to look at Lou Vega's stuff about the constellation. This is a sign of Regulus, Jupiter, and Mercury on August 6th of this year. And this is going to be, so the heart of the lion, Jupiter and Mercury. And this is August. So.
Okay, let me point out something about August 6th. That's when they dropped the first nuclear bomb. That was at Hiroshima.
Oh. Yeah, they do certain things on dates. They do everything according to numbers and dates. If you look at Matthew Nicholson's stuff, he does a really incredible work on numbers and how it ties to everything. It's amazing. But let's see here. So yeah, it's interesting here, because he said with Giza specific, Isaiah 19 describes an altar where the Great Pyramid sits on the edge of the border of Egypt. On Mount Sinai and Mount Zion, the Bible clearly describes times where Abraham and Moses constructed an altar unto the Lord as well. Perhaps such an alignment at Regulus will have to do with an altar of the coming of the third temple in Jerusalem that will either be in effect, begun, or commissioned in some form of fashion. The altar will be the last piece to be in place for the daily sacrifices to commence.
Mm.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Khafre. Here's his phone with this symbol here that we showed before. Khufu, he became Menhotep, but these are his sons. So he actually represents, like, Nimrod and the giant, the ruler after the flood. So this is Khafre and Menkaure. These are his sons, and these are the three kings. This is Khufu's pyramid, which is it's actually taller than this one. This one's just on a higher plane, but this is represents Saturn. So Khufu's pyramid is representative actually of Jupiter, but it represents Saturn, because he does represent Saturn. And then his sons represents Venus. This middle pyramid has the Sphinx, and then the other one represents the moon, which is Menkaure. So these three kings represents these three pyramids, and they represent the 3 stars on Orion's belt, which represents the brain.
So the 369 pattern here goes back to Tesla. What we were talking goes back to the Saturn, Sun, Moon connection. Goes back to this Giza alignment. Goes back to the way the One World Freedom Towers lined up. That whole complex now too. What do you think of that? Now that you've studied, this thing, what does the pattern mean as far as anything?
Well, they're portals. They're portals, and I think that if you want to get real deep spiritually, I think that it has to do with the mind, and I think that people that connect to this with their mind and the computer system and that merging that they're going to want to do, this has a lot to do with the quantum computer and connecting with the belief of the knowledge of the death, which is a false belief. And so they kind of lure you with all of these things, and people that are sealed with the Lord, Jesus Christ, they're not connected to this. They can't be, because they're already saved. But the people that don't choose Jesus, this is kind of like a really deep subject. You can go with it in different ways, but they're portals, and the Bible talks about us being changed. Our bodies are going to be changed, and we are going to be in heaven, and we're going to rule and reign with Jesus Christ, and we are his children. And so, but this is their way of living. This is their way of thinking, because Saturn is a supercomputer, and so they're going to. This whole thing with Cern is a computer, quantum computer. It's man mixed with machine, and these computers are already mixed with particles and DNA, and so it's already man mixed with machine. And so whenever they open up this portal and they do this sacrifice to their new god that they want to raise up, that's going to be an abomination to the Lord. And so this is what they're planning on doing, because they want to raise up their king. And this is the only way that they can do it, is through this manipulation of time and this manipulation through the portal to the earth.
Right. I was trying to think of the anatomy connection there of Saturn as the computer impacting the pineal, then impacting the pituitary. And I was trying to think of the hive mind connection. But I was also trying to think of what is the pituitary's connection to this hive mind, because we've talked about the pineal before as the reptilian, that whole serpent reptilian connection of the hive mind. But the pituitary, I hadn't really thought of that, how it connects with this. But it must have to do with hormones and releasing and stuff like that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Also keep in mind, Anthony, that Jupiter's female counterpart is Juno.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's the lightning god, and Jupiter is, I guess, he's who they worship. And so Jupiter and Juno are male and female. These are the male and female deities. So this is the 12 zodiac of 12, Mithraism, but this is how they connect. So Mars and Venus, Neptune and Minerva, Apollo and Diana, Vulcan and Vesta, Mercury and Ceres, they all connect with each other. And so on that, go ahead, Anthony.
No, go ahead.
Okay, on this Cemitale and what they're doing here with these lungs and this part of the body, this is where they show Horus as the head, and he's Upper and Lower Egypt. He's the king at that point, because the phoenix rises like every 1,000 years, and they do this ceremony, and they use the stars right now, and they use astrology for power, also for knowing what they manipulate things with it, like war and finances and banking, and the queen had her little guy John D, and which was a really sick man. But they all had their, even the presidents now, and all of them, they all have the same. They had astrologers and everything to help guide them with things and decisions that they were going to make. And so anyhow, this is something that they do, and they're going to raise the phoenix again. It's in our time, and when they do, whenever that is, I don't know when. I don't know this year, next year, 10 years. I have no clue when it's going to be, but I just understand that this is what they want to do. I do know that this is what they want, and for their golden age. And this has a lot to do with temple. I mean, look at the Pope. He just recognized Palestine as a state. You know, he recognized them. So, I mean, we have a lot of things moving quickly right now. But so we see the bird on the little branch here, which is Horus, but they want to merge both gods here. This is Yhwh, and he has this portal in his hand. He's the little Horus god that comes out of the lotus with the 2 DNAs here. And Yhwh is a real interesting character there. I wanted to show that because King Tut was buried inside of a portal-type matrix. This is Shamash. Shamash is in a portal-type matrix. This is the necklace, the Manat necklace, and this is Hathor. And these are 4 dimensions. These are 4 portals, and this is the energy coming into them here. And I do believe this is the moon. It's either the sun or the moon, either one. And this is what I was showing you on the boat of Ra, where Jeb was standing in the center.
Yeah.
And they do have...
Is that the boat over there where you said the sun and the moon is? Is it sitting in the boat? Is that what that symbolizes? That do you know what I'm talking about up above where we're just...
Right here?
Yeah. Is that the boat that it's sitting in?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because, you know, this is the Dendara temple, and you can't see just everything in there, but that's limited, I guess, the pictures that you can get from there. But this is one of the pictures, and I wanted to show you that it's just like this dig symbol here, the portal with the T, and this is the Ptah cross on the Kabbalah tree here. So this actually represents the Scimitar, I believe, with the lungs or whatever, and the spine, on the spine. So this is called a sistrum. It's a musical instrument that he plays with this portal. And I think that it's supposed to scare away demons and maybe Set too. I don't know, I read that, but this was in the Dendara temple with the electricity. There's 2 snakes here, and they're connected to the flowers, the 2 DNAs. And it's the same thing as the Scimitar when you see them here. It's the same thing. This is electricity. And so this is Shamash, and he's in his portal. So this is what portals look like on their hieroglyphs. This is a portal. This is a portal. These are 4 portals. And, well, these are 2, but they had on the other picture. And this is dualism here, this Phoenix with the 2 heads. So this is what they want to do, is they want to raise the dualism, the yin and the yang, and put the 2 together.
Can we stop there for a second?
Yeah.
The portal you're representing there as a rectangle, or they're representing it as a rectangle. And the reason that is significant, there's 2 things. Number 1, the adiabatic quantum computer, the quantum computer that we've talked so much about that they have built, is housed in a black cube. That extends out into the model of the universe. The model that they're using in what I want to call their public relations campaign, when we talk about the Higgs boson, we talk about quantum particles and smashing particles or protons together and creating smaller particles. All of that discussion of quantum physics, everything that we have learned in school in terms of physics, is based upon Einstein's gravitational model of the universe. Now, that gravitational model utilizes right angles in geometry, right angles in rectangles and cubes. And rather than a electric model of the universe, which then represents the universe as curved space in the form of a sphere. Now,
yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay, go ahead.
So, as you guys know, and I can't divulge his name or the project they're involved in, but you guys know who I'm talking about already. I gave him my theory of the model of the universe being a sphere rather than a flat plane or a cube, which is the cube represents the gravitational model, which is what we've all learned in school. Big Bang, all of that. And I presented it to him because he is a proponent of the electric model of the universe, meaning curved space. I said, does a sphere represent the universe? And he said it absolutely does. And he went down and listed several things to prove that, so to speak, as best as we can prove it. So the electric model is different than the gravitational model geometrically in that the electric is a sphere or curved space. Here they're representing a portal rather than round. They're representing it as the gravitational model, which is right angles, the cube, or the rectangle. And yet in popular culture, as we know, Tim especially here, we've got typically they represent a portal as a round gate. So what I'm getting at here is, and this is going to come up in my new book, Coalescence, there is a merging, coalescence, there's a merging coming of the two theories, gravitational, cube or rectangle, to sphere, electrical model. The two are complementary, the two will merge, and in my book I'm kind of giving away the punchline. The sphere and the cube merge. So I'm not going to say too much because I want Kris to have the floor here today. But I wanted to point out why they're representing the portal here as a rectangle, because that's the gravitational model. And yet we're seeing through here representations of the electric model because of the use of electric plasma in returning and reconnecting things back to the Golden Age. So it's all pulling together. It's not exclusive.
Yeah, you're talking about time and space. You know, the circle represents time and the square represents space. And and so you reminded me, though, this is what they're doing here is they're curving it when they're doing this electricity with this DNA. And so that's what they're doing is they're curving it so that way they can open this, make the swastika above turn into a circle.
Exactly.
So this is what they're doing is curving it.
So repeat that again so people understand it. Say it again.
Yeah, so this is actually this is kind of like electricity, and the flowers represent DNA, and they're tying this Isis knot here. But what they're doing is they're curving the square in order to open a portal to make it into a fourth dimension, to make it to open to where they can travel. And so that's what they're doing here through this scimitarway.
So you're representing the bending, the modification of the time-space continuum from what has been forced upon them, which is the square, the cube, to what they want, which existed in the Golden Age, which was the sphere, which is the portal, allowing them to return to the Golden Age. So you're seeing the manipulation through all of this power they're generating, 14 tera-electron volts. It's not the collisions that's important. It's the power that's generated, which then creates a toroidal field, a magnetic field in the shape of a donut called a torus. And the center of that torus being a spherical center. Okay? That is the shape of the portal that will result, not a square, not a rectangle, not a cube, but as you've correctly pointed out here, Kris, it is definitely a donut, it is definitely a sphere in the center of the donut, and a sphere as the greater toroidal field of magnetic lines of force. That's what they're creating in the center of Cern. It's not particles that are generated, it's power that's generated to create this donut in the center of that point of collision where the streams cross. So they're generating magnetic fields. I want people to grasp this. This is a shift from the gravitational model to the electric model of the universe. No one, I'm telling you right now, there is no one who is revealing this. I'm not trying to say we're wonderful and, you know, prophetic or anything else. It's just that the three of us have put our heads together for months now. And Kris is pulling this all together. She's taking all the pieces that the three of us have brought to the table.
Well, I couldn't have done it without God, you know. I mean, I had a dream and I sent the info to Anthony, and, you know, these things come out in different ways, but we can't understand anything like this without God, for sure.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you a question, Anthony, when you're done.
No, go.
Since we're talking bending time and space, and they're trying to manipulate time and space into this fourth dimension, I guess to escape or something. How was this is a philosophical, spiritual question, and I'll see if you can, you know, add to it. But Christ dying on the on the cross, the Tao cross or whatever, the blood, and sealing and defeating the devil at that point, as compared to trapping them to this linear timeline. Is there any physics or any scientific way of taking that story and connecting it to what we're talking about, them trying to escape this conundrum they got themselves stuck in, is what I'm saying?
Well, I think that what has taken place is when God chose to destroy the Tower of Babel, which we've related to being the ancient version of the present Large Hadron Collider, I think that everything became imprisoned. I think all of these entities, sure, we have people, you know, that commune with demonic spirits and whatnot, but I think a prison was created, and I think a prison in the form of a cube was created, and they want to break out of that cube, and they want to move back into this spherical realm that existed back in their golden age. And God is going to allow this. The physicist I was mentioning before that I have been consulting with, he is also a Christian believer. And the statement that he gave to me yesterday was pretty profound, in the sense that I asked him the direct question, do you think that they're going to be successful with the Large Hadron Collider in terms of opening the portal? And he said, I can't answer the question about a portal because I don't know enough about it at this point. He said, I understand where you're going with this, and I understand the occult direction of wanting to open a portal. But from a physics standpoint, he said, I can't say whether they're going to be successful or not. However, from a spiritual standpoint, from my understanding of Scripture and through prayer, God will allow all evil to have its day. Anything that man can imagine, God will allow them to manifest. And the purpose for allowing, in this case, the Large Hadron Collider to be successful, and in our thinking here, it's successful in opening the portal, but the reason for their success to be allowed by God is so that all evil can be manifest, have its day, and then to be done with it, to bring an end to all evil once and for all, without Satan being able to say to God, you didn't allow me to do as you said I could do, which was to be able to have my day and manifest all that I could dream and conjure and produce. So I'm going to take from this gentleman, because it echoes the things that I have read, and I believe they will be successful. Will it be this year? We don't know. But they will have their success in all of these occult practices and what the goals are that they are trying to achieve. It sounds depressing. However, it's giving us the opportunity to make a choice, and that's the choice between God and Satan. And I won't go much further than that, but I just wanted to throw that out, Tim. I think hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see evil come to an end, as all Christians will be, to have just rule by God. And, of course, he said these things must come to pass in Matthew 24. So he said it's got to come to a conclusion at some point, and once it's not going to be pretty, but it's, yeah. Okay, Kris.
Okay, I fell asleep. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. I'm just joking, Tim.
Just eating Doritos again, aren't you?
Hey, I was just going to point out too that that in Egypt, when Obama went there a while back, and still they claim that he is the new King Tut of the world. He does carry two types of DNA, and I know his father was from the Low tribe, and that tribe they worship Osiris, Seker, something, I forget the whole name, but and then his mother, I believe, is on the other side, which is the German, which is the British, and
right.
Which all presidents are, they're from the royal bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
But we're from the real royalty.
Right. We're from eternal royalty now that we've been saved.
Yeah, this is just a picture of the moon. I was just always wondering. I'm not sure if it's like an illusion, or is it, it represents the capstone in a way. So I've heard that there is, like stations on the moon and different things. You can't see the dark side of the moon. There's also a lot of belief that there's like spirits that are on the moon, and so I'm just curious. I'm not sure if it's is it like a spaceship, or is it is it hollow? Does it have some kind of something in it? Is it, I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and see if anybody has any kind of opinions on that. This is from a blog that I did called The Final Countdown on Star Monkey's Big Picture blog. And this capstone here represents the gate, which is like the birthing of the Antichrist through this time, through 2016. And so this represents also, you see the black stone of Mecca here, and the Yoni, the dark matter, the goddess of the moon represents, Venus represents the moon. And so this is the countdown of the pyramid from 1776 to the capstone is 2012, and to the top of it there's 5,776 inches, which represents 2016. But actually, 5776 in the Jewish calendar starts this September.
Yep.
And so here's the Ben Ben stone. The Ben Ben stone represents the energy of Ra, the sun god, and then it also represents Thoth, which I'll show you here. So Yahweh, one of the major titles of Tahiti, is Aya. Yah is Jah, Jehovah, meaning the crescent moon. He is Yhwh. The letters Hu, he turned backwards Yhwh, rather Yahweh, the sacred name of the god Neter. In this form, he symbolizes the crescent moon, Aya. Tahuti often is seen, image is the ibis, this bird, which is the Ben Ben bird, the phoenix, the Abzu, the dragon, the abyss. Could it be the stone in the temple of the mount? I don't know. But So this bird is the ibis, habu, habui. The medi, netter, habu is brunette's ha. So there you go. Yhwh and Yah, Tahuti is the same name, and he represents the stone. And I want to show you something real interesting after this. Here's his seal. His seal is the tree of knowledge, which is the Dath, and which is the Dath represents this this right here. It represents this hole here that Tony Stark has, represents the heart, and the heart represents the brain to the occult, the consciousness. So in the Bible, there's two trees. One is the tree of immortality, and one is the tree of consciousness. And the tree of life is different from the tree of knowledge and being your own God. And so I just wanted to point that out, that this Dath here in this DNA here represents this. So there's two snakes. Huh?
Tony Stark. What's my name? What's my name?
Your name is
Tony.
Tim got it.
He's Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
He's revealing himself. He's out of his suit right now.
What about in my book, Diamonds in the Rough?
That's true.
Diamonds in.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. That's amazing that how your books just cover this stuff. I mean, it's crazy. Definitely, people want to read those. It's amazing the technology with the diamonds and these quantum computers and all this stuff. The slide 30 was the slide that just blew me away that Kris showed, which just sums up everything we've been doing, which is that six-pointed, that six portrayal of the donut, and it's like, well, that just sums up everything. If you were just to slap that on the front cover or something, people would get it. What's going on here?
You got it.
Unreal.
Go ahead, Kris. Sorry, I had to make a plug.
That's okay. The two snakes are in the garden. One represents Satan. The center pole is Cain. It's the bloodline of Cain. So Thoth is shown here. This is like a caduceus, represented fertility and balanced wisdom in the underworld by two protective dragons of Tiamat. So Thoth represents the snake, Samael and Nama. And so what I wanted to point out here...
Drum roll, please.
Okay, well, before that, let me just say that all of these gods here represent one, and this represents the pyramid here. Jeez. And if you turn the pyramid upside down, it swirls around here like the Cern 666. And so this is what they represent. These are the 8 here, so I just wanted to point that out.
Wow.
Before I show you this, okay? This is the skull and everything that the Catholic Church carries around here, and this is the name of it, I guess. This is Thoth's name. I've done some really deep, in-depth research, and I know Thoth is like a spirit, and so he can manifest. But this is his name a long time ago. This is how you spell Thoth, is the symbol here. This is the seal of Solomon. And this sure is a little skull, isn't it? Tiny?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like King Tut. It might be. You never know. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but you never know, because I know there was something happened at the Exodus, and I know that that was around that time of King Tut.
I like the crown on the skull with the phoenix right there over the third eye. When they got the dangling thing right there, and they got the nice little, and it kind of reminds you of America a little bit too.
And Jade Helm, see the jade?
Yeah.
There's your jade.
And there's
but look
your
here
H.
What they do with the bones here.
Yeah.
There's your H from Helm. That's the H from Helm.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, this is the pyramid here with the capstone in the middle, this is the 8 that they worship. 4 that makes the 8. This is the cross they wear on their shoulder. See? This is who they worship. This symbol is this symbol. This is Thoth's name in the middle of this bone structure that they created. See?
Yeah, that was also, what was it, the Jesuit sign, IHS, which was the Isis Horus Set, but it's actually Thoth, isn't it? Instead of thinking
well, Thoth is Horus with Isis.
Okay,
you know,
gotcha.
so, yeah, so they are the resurrected Osiris. So in my opinion, Cain is Osiris, and he was killed by Set and resurrected as Isis, and Horus as Thoth. So Thoth is a magician. He's the alchemist, and he's a magician. And even over the Queen of England, she has his symbol over her throne.
Okay, so he's an alchemist. You said that Thoth is an alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly the process at the Large Hadron Collider, where they are actually, as you know, there's publicized articles that they actually changed lead into gold, and their whole process is guided by the Tablet of Hermes. And part of what is contained in the Tablet of Hermes, which is green emerald, okay, is the process of changing, or the mutation of elements into other elements, not just lead into gold. That's the popular one. But literally at a quantum level, they now have the ability, not just through these collisions, but through the acceleration as well of particles, they're able to change the mass energy of solid particles and actually move and change the number of electrons in an atom, and therefore be able to change lead into gold by changing the number of electrons that are circulating around the nucleus. So when you talk about Thoth being an alchemist, obviously there's that direct connection to the Large Hadron Collider at Cern and what they're doing, and the connection to their spiritual practices, which is the motivation behind the building of the machine in the first place.
They want this phoenix to rise.
They certainly do.
And that's what he represents. He represents the phoenix rising every 1,000 years. And see, here's Jeb's name, and he represents the earth. And here's
Jeb
the two.
Bush? You mean Jeb Bush?
No. And here's the 2 eyes of Horus and the 2 snakes. So this is like a mirror, as above, so below, and that's the Ben stone that I do believe represents the moon somehow. So here is the name of Yhwh again. He represents the building of a man, the fire, the water, and different names here too, because it's Nut, Tefnut, Yhwh, Jeb. Jeb is part of his name, which is the number 26, and that is the middle pillar of the Kabbalah tree. The middle pillar equals 26. And see, here it is. Here's the earth, the moon. Here's this tall gate right here, the gate to the moon. The earth is not moved, you know, like the planets. And so here is the number 9 represents the moon, and Venus is number 7. Here's Mercury, the sun. And so I think this is kind of like the tall cross, and this is the Dath, but this is the Dath up here. So when they do that ceremony, the Scimitar, back then it had to have been like here, and here was the hole. This represents the heart for them, and this represents also when Jesus hung on the cross, and he had to go through hell pretty much and be risen up again, you know, die for our sins. And so anyway, this is what they call knowledge, and this is the dark matter here, and it also kind of, the moon is the same thing because it's the yoni and the woman and the dark matter. So we talked about dark matter, and you know, many years ago that's connected with Brahma, with the time travel and the dark matter and all that.
Just as far as Pluto goes up there on top, is there? I just got shots from NASA today of the moons around Pluto, and I don't have the article in front of me, but they have like strange names like Kix and Styx and different things like that. The river, I guess River Styx is in what, Hades or something. You cross the river, or the boat on the Styx or something. But,
yeah, the STYX.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the. They're showing that. They're showing those photos today. I think they were taken yesterday, but related to Pluto. That New Horizons is now filming Pluto, and this is another one of our little space rituals that we're starting to. And so I'm trying to figure out what's Pluto's part in this, now that they're focusing attention on it.
Yeah, it represents the crown, and it represents hell and Hades, and that is where Osiris went. He went to the underworld, and he can't get out.
So is that where he's rising from, out of Pluto, or?
I'm not sure. I think I know that Uranus is close to this Polaris star, and he represents Re, which is Thoth too. And so I'm not really sure. I'm not sure about that.
The original lightning bolt used to go from like Pluto to Saturn across the Neptune zigzag all the way down that tree, and now we have we got the 369.
Yeah, now it's this pathway, the 3 here all the way to the sun, to the moon. Right. So here is the pathway here, and but this gate isn't open yet, and this actually Atlas is the one that holds up the sphere. Mm-hmm. And he represents the pillars on each side, and the pillars represents the equinoxes, and the equinox is September too. One of them is.
So I guess I'm just going to have to research some of this Pluto stuff, because now it's being raised, so there's something with it. Okay.
Yeah, there's some. There is. That's a good question. No, those are good questions. That's what I need to look into more too. But here's an old. An old.
Can you back
what, right
up?
here?
Can you back up? Yeah. One thing again, the electric model of the universe. In that, it talks about the connection, the electrical connections, and I'm reiterating for the audience's benefit. They talk about the electrical connection between the planets, between the stars, between the sun and the earth. And if you take that and lay that representation that you're seeing here into that model, those lines all represent electrical connections between all of these heavenly bodies. And when we talk about plasma, plasma represents the greater open field in this, the spaces. In the gravitational model, they talk about the empty space, the vacuum, being comprised of dark energy and dark matter. In the electric model, they talk about those spaces as filled with plasma, electrically charged plasma, which is a fourth state of matter. Okay, and just like time is the fourth dimension, plasma is the fourth state of matter, and therefore these open spaces in this diagram are filled with plasma, and each of these planets and the moon and the earth and the sun are all connected electrically by electrical currents, and so they're representing to you energy, and oftentimes this is related to the human body in the sense of the energy connections within the body itself and the different points within the body, but you can relate that out to the universe as represented here in much the same fashion, because we live in a plasma environment, and all of the components of our bodies and all of the components of the heavenly bodies are all electrically interconnected. And so you have, when you're connected that way, lines of communication. You exchange energy, and you can exchange information through those pathways. So I wanted to lay that over onto this because it's totally relevant to what we're talking about from a physics standpoint. Okay.
For Chris's benefit, I just wanted to point out that 3-2-6 triangle right there. That's the shape of the thing that's in Tony Stark's circular donut.
Oh yeah.
in his chest, because you've got Dot there as representing the heart. Well, that's in the center of Tony Stark's chest. So yeah. Exactly, Tim.
Yeah, that's your pop culture crossover with that picture of Iron Man with the triangle in the circle. That's him right there, Dot, and that.
And your flux capacitor.
Your flux. I forgot all about the flux capacitor.
That's exactly like it.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, I just wanted to mention real quick. Somebody sent me a movie to watch, and I watched it. And if you're listening, that place where the girl went with John, you know who I'm talking about, in that movie, that is the Dat. And so all of that was in her mind. And really interesting movie. I'm glad they sent it to me. It was pretty interesting about Horus and Anubis and, you know, the Bast. Bast is the cat god, and she's married to Anubis. But pretty interesting, you know.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned the folks that are bringing information our way. I want to do a blanket shout out to all of the people that are emailing, not just me, but all three of us. The audience is growing and the audience is participating, and the question I've gotten many times is, how can we get questions to any of us? And so I would encourage you, to go ahead and go to our websites and send in your email questions to any of us. And we talk all the time on a daily basis, the three of us, and we can send messages between each other and forward them on your behalf. But there have been a lot of videos and a lot of articles that have been sent to me personally by people who join us here on this discussion. And I'm really, really grateful to the information that we get, because it leads us into really critical pathways. And much of what we present here comes from our audience, so I wanted to acknowledge that.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of questions. I've enjoyed all the feedback from the End Times Matrix News people on Facebook, who shoot a whole bunch of stuff, and then I'll forward it to Kris or Anthony when it pertains to what they're working on. They're doing great work out there. A lot of vigilant watchmen out there picking at different parts of the puzzle, so it helps a lot.
It really
does. And if we don't answer you, we will. Give us some time. I mean, it's I've been trying to get a lot of things done this week with this, but I wanted to show here too that this is a depiction, I guess, of Adam, is, from what I understand, on this artifact. This is a copy of what's on the artifact, but here's the lungs here. And this is the Kabbalah tree too. But the heart, you see how his head's here?
Yeah.
It's on the heart. And this is what it represents here to me, with the death here, with the brain. So the heart is the brain. And that's what they think here with this, be your own God. Kanye West sells I Am a God. You can get that phone case if you want to. And I'm kidding, actually, but he says that you could be your own God, and he depicts himself as like a Jesus or whatever. But it's horrible how they mock Christ and what they do, and trick the world and hang all this stuff right in our faces or whatever. Here's the Pope kissing a foot with a cube on it. Just wanted to end it with that, Here's the cube of the world, and he's kissing it.
Isn't that cute? That's just cute.
I hope he gets athlete's foot of the mouth.
It's gross. Hey, Tim, what picture? You said this was the one that...
Number 30 is your best one for knocking over everybody. That one right there. That cleans the clock right there, number 30.
I think that's the cover of my new book.
It's got to be. That says it all. Honestly,
we can make it prettier, but it could be like,
It just communicates in so many different ways. It's just.
You've got it all right there. Everything is right there in this slide.
Beautiful.
Phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's so much better than anybody else has put out there on anything. Kris, you just you creamed it.
Well, I'm trying to put it out there the way I understand it in my head, and I'm sure that it's hard to do that, and sometimes, and but we do the best we can and try to get people to understand. I mean, I've researched this for so long. I understand a lot of mechanisms in what they believe and the worship and how they aid is really one, and all the symbolism that surrounds it. I can look at it and see and kind of understand it. And just because I've looked at it for so long, because I want to understand, you know, what they're doing and everything. But you know, I wanted to give some encouraging words too at the end here when we're done.
But you're able to read these pictures. You're able to read these pictures like a book. One of the Christine, I'll acknowledge. I think Christine's probably watching. She sent me an email and said, you know, you guys can read these pictures like a book. It's amazing, and it really. This is what the Lord gives to us. We're not special. Again, we're just the conduits of information. Take away any personal thing out of this whole discussion here. We're just conduits of information coming out. But Kris could sit here. She could do 3 hours just on this one picture of taking this apart and dissecting it and talking about what it means from the ancient stories. And I could sit here along with Tim, and we could do another 3 hours after she's done talking about popular culture and physics. That's all represented right in here. So maybe at some point we'll just take one focus show and we'll just talk about and take apart all of these pieces and very quickly just talk about what they represent in physics, pop culture. Now that we have Kris's presenting it from a historical, from an ancient context, we could bring this up to the present time, but that would be for a different show.
Oh, yeah.
I just want people to understand that when we're reading this, we're reading a lot of depth into this because of the research we've done, and we'll try to share that as we go along.
Yeah, right now in this picture, what I'm interested in is the second picture on the top, the bottom center, and the bottom left, the pumping of the heart with the feet. That, to me, is kind of interesting. And it's like the bellows. It's like a bellows thing, or it's like a furnace, the heart, something interesting about that.
Those are the lungs.
It's called a plume.
So that's the pumping of the lungs, the pneuma, the breath, yeah, like bellows. I guess bellows would do that, wouldn't they?
Right. Yeah, just think about whenever Quetzalcoatl was able to travel as he was able to be the rainbow serpent, and he gained a vehicle, which is the plume serpent, and I think that's what happened during that time too, was he was able to travel. Because of what they did with some kind of this same thing right here.
Okay, when you look at shows on TV, Tim, like those survival shows, and they show about how to rub sticks together to start a fire,
right?
Or you place the point of the stick into a stone or into a block of wood, and you create friction and you create fire.
Right.
The Indians, the natives, would use two pieces of a loop, a thread or a vine around the pole, and they would move that pole back and forth by pulling on that string or on that vine very quickly, creating the friction down near the feet of these two figures.
Yes.
And so you're creating fire here through friction.
Right.
Well, you're doing the same thing when you're accelerating particles in a circle.
Right.
You're generating energy.
So I guess that's the symbol there would be putting kindling on a block and putting a stick in the middle of the kindling and then spinning it in between your hands until you generate the friction on the block to ignite the kindling.
That's right.
So that's really interesting.
So you're generating heat is energy, as you know. Through friction, you generate heat, generating energy. Same thing with a particle collider. It's spinning, just like this rod is spinning, and it's creating energy in the form of tera-electron volts. And that's igniting energy, generating energy through the collision of particles, which is a result of spinning them, like you're spinning this rod. And if you will, at the very top of that rod, we're looking at the one with the two black figures. the top of that rod, you have the edge-on view of a circle. Okay, imagine looking down on that, you'd see a circle. We're looking at the edge of that circle, and that circle is being spun by these two figures. Again, the particle collider.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't even consider that dimension of the photo. That it was, I'm just thinking, seeing flat, but it's actually a circle that's spinning.
Like this, they're making this donut.
There you
They're
go.
making this donut, this circle donut. See it?
And Tim, who eats a lot of donuts on TV?
Oh, Homer, of course. That's why I put in Iron Man in there with the donuts. And The Simpsons is notorious for having hints towards, you know, atomic power. He works at the atomic reactor.
Right.
And then he's supposed to solve that space-time conundrum or whatever for Cern.
Yeah. In my presentation at the Hilton, I opened it with the image of Homer as a scientist, as a physicist, working out the mathematical model for the mass energy equivalency of the Higgs boson, and that predated by 9 months the actual, not 9 months, several years, I should say, predated the supposed proof of the existence of the Higgs boson, and its mass energy equivalency was only about 700 electron volts off of what Homer had presented in The Simpsons. So I like to laugh about Homer and the donuts, but here we go. I mean, they put it right out in front of us.
Yeah, it's an interesting spiritual law that they have to follow, that they have to put it in our consciousness somehow. To have like a deniability or like I warned you kind of a thing. Do you have that picture of Tony Stark in the big donut again? I'll just show you something that was in the background in that most people didn't catch. If you had that one last picture, because it's all there. It's actually pretty funny. Not that one. The one above that, about 2 above or so. Yeah, up there. See that telegraph pole in the back? There's your T.
There's the top.
Yeah, there's your T.
There you go.
But they just sneak it all in there. It's just hilarious. So yeah, a great job, Kris. Really enjoyed it. I guess we're off to Pluto now and some other places. Well of Souls, Pluto. What other areas do you want people to try to research, Anthony, or that would help you with what you're looking at?
Well, I think if we have anybody that is going in the direction of the electric model of the universe, plasma, if they will focus on the toroidal fields, the magnetic lines of force that are generated by particles under acceleration that then form this shape of magnetic lines of force, which is the torus, the donut, this is the key. This is where I'm researching. This is what I'm bringing to a focal point in the book Coalescence that'll be out in a few weeks. I'm giving it away, but I really want people to understand that what is going on below the surface, below the public relations with the Large Hadron Collider is not quantum physics. It's the magnetic universe, and it's all about the donut.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. You have any final words, Kris?
Well, yeah, I do. I wanted to say hi to one of my friends that's listening and tell her that I'm going to keep praying for her. And, I love people that God connects me with. And, on a note, I wanted to say, before we go today, that Jesus came to this dark world, and he's the one that gave us the true light, and that light lives in our heart, in our true hearts, not all of these other things, not the dath or the chakras or anything else. All of those things is a cover. It's like a false light that Satan uses through religion and New Age and everything else in order to gain souls and to trick people. And I wanted to say, that, Jesus, he loved us so much that he died on the cross for us to break the curse of the law. And his gift is salvation. It's a free gift, and it's life. It's the true life, that we can always live for an eternity with Jesus Christ. And his greatest commandment is to love your Lord God with all of your heart and all of your mind and all of your soul. And we do that through him. And he's the only way to God. He says, I and the Father, we are one. And Jesus is one with the Father. And the true Holy Spirit that he gives us, it's not Thoth, it's not these chakras or these fallen angels that want to be God, that are identified through these beings, through the pyramid and the portal and all these things. The Holy Spirit is holy, and Jesus gave us that gift after he died on the cross. He sent his Holy Spirit, and so our heart is a beautiful instrument. And Satan wants to steal and kill and destroy everything that God puts inside of our hearts. But there's great power in God, and through Jesus Christ, his love endures forever, and every victory belongs to him. Every victory does. And so I just wanted to leave on that note. And if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Savior, you can always ask him to come and live inside of your heart and to be your Savior. And that's the only way to heaven. He is the gate. And he says, I am the gate. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. And he is God. And so he doesn't lie. And he came to straighten all the mess out that Satan's done, all the lies, and all of the people that follow Satan that try to trick everybody. They'll have their day, and God is the one who's going to handle those things. So I just wanted to say that, and say that I love my friends and love the people that I'm praying for. And if you have a prayer request, I'll put it on my list. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to expose these things so that way people, Jesus tells us, to expose those things in the dark. And everything in the dark will come to the light. And so that's why we're here, so that way people will understand. I mean, people from all walks of life.
Right. Right, and that's what the focus of this show and all of us coming together was. We didn't plan it. God put us together to get this out, while we can still have access to normal people having access to this kind of outlet. And that it's to help you keep your eyes on Jesus, focus on Jesus. It's an exposure of the world as it is, the falseness of this world. So people let go of this world and embrace Jesus, who doesn't lie to you like the world's lying to you. And that's your only hope, is Jesus Christ. And it's a great treat with Kris and Anthony here. And we're going to move forward this next week. I guess we'll focus on the Temple Mount as well as souls, try to get some more information on what's going on with the Vatican takeover of Israel, the internationalization of Jerusalem, post follow-up to the big show kind of stuff that we did, trying to really focus, because that is ground zero. When you talk about God's land, you're talking about that he identifies that area. And so we need to focus on the moves that are happening there. And so we'll focus on that, but we'll come back together with Anthony also. Depending on the questions you folks leave, and it all helps with giving us direction, and the Holy Spirit opens up things, and we get to a whole nother level of finding out new stuff. But bang up job today, Kris. That was awesome.
Beautiful, Kris.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I'm glad it came together. Thank God that he helps me.
Oh, yeah. So we'll just say goodbye. Just leave your responses on the YouTube video. If you want to directly PM me on and the End Times Matrix News on Facebook, I'll direct that stuff to Anthony and Kris as if it's pertinent to what they're working on. So thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless.